Greetings, YouTube. Guns97X asked me a question yesterday concerning movement speed. He wanted to know if I like the way that the D20 system handles movement, if I had seen any other systems that had handled it differently, and that I like them better. I know that I've seen systems where movement speed is a derived stat, so you have other stats, you multiply or divide or something, you get an average, and that's your movement speed. And I've seen systems where movement speed was a statistic of its own, often modified by another ability score or your race. Justifier's RPG is the one I can think of off the top of my head that handled it like that. It was a stat that was then modified by your race. Obviously, cheetahs were a whole lot faster than rhinos. Pretty much everyone in that game was a Moro, an anthropomorphic animal PC. Excellent game if you're going to get your hands on it. It needs a little tweaking, but the setting I thought was really well done. I quite liked it. There's supposed to have been a new German version done out, but I've never seen it in English, so I don't speak German. But I'll be honest, even though I love the D20 system, I'm not thrilled with how it handles movement. Every human being in the D20 system is the same speed. That makes no sense to me at all. Now, the average commoner, I can have no problem with the fact that the average commoner compared to every other average commoner is the same speed. But I think that heroes should have better speed movements than your average commoner. So I'm going to throw an idea out. And this is just an idea I came up with between yesterday and today while thinking about making this video. I apologize for the really loud car that just went by my house. Apparently someone doesn't understand the concept of having an exhaust system that works. A medium humanoid would have a base speed of 10 plus their strength and dex. So, your average commoner, who has a 10 in both those stats, would have a movement of 30, which is exactly what it is now. Whereas a human rogue, who they say has an 18 dex and a 12 strength, would have a movement of 40. And that's a significant difference between your average person and that rogue. But that rogue isn't going to have that ability right off the bat. Even I, who likes point buy and doesn't mind a high point buy, usually put a cap of a starting stat of being 16 before a bonus. So a human is probably going to have, maybe an 18, 16, more likely. So it's not going to be, a crippling speed difference. And let's face it, there's lots of ways to crank your speed up in D20. Look at the monk. A monk can be within 100 speed per round at high levels, so I don't think that having someone moving at a high level of speed is a real deal breaker, even at low levels. Small characters like halflings and gnomes, they wouldn't get a base speed. Their base speed would just be their dex and their strength added together. So a halfling who gets a -2 dex and a -2 strength and a +2 dex, they're 20. Your average halfling is going to balance out at a speed of 20. Gnomes are going to be a little bit slower, but like dwarves, they have a con bonus. So even though they're not going to be able to run as quickly, move as quickly, they're going to be able to go further. And speaking of dwarves, even though dwarves don't get a strength bonus or a dex bonus, and they have a con bonus, and with their ability to carry a heavy load and still move at full rate, they're going to be marching along long after all the other faster people in their party have collapsed. That whole tortoise hare thing, there we go. That's the dwarf explained. So I like the idea of having a variable speed in D20. Now, I haven't tested this. This is something I'm just throwing off the top of my head. I think by balancing it between dex and strength, it is less likely for most people to have both of those being really high. I realize there are some people who will do that. Most people will stress one over the other, however, so it's not going to be completely unbalancing. And again, the con is there to help you be able to travel longer distances as opposed to faster. So I'd be curious to hear if anyone out there has any house rules of their own for speed in D20, or a favorite speed mechanic from another system. I'd like to know what the system is, and why do you like that movement system over the classic D20, which frankly is really bland.